Alright guys, it's 2KillStew here. I've been getting asked recently where's my review video for my Battle Beaver Customs controller for the PlayStation 4, so here it goes. It's a very good controller, feels very nice. As I've mentioned before, I've only ever really used the official PlayStation controller previously, and obviously the Battle Beaver is based off of that, using a lot of the original parts, etc. So it feels very much the same as that controller, which I really like. It's got a similar sort of weight to it as well, and feels very sturdy, very good quality build. If you've not seen the unboxing, I'll just quickly go over some of the things that I had done to it so that I can speak about it. So I've got the smart triggers on L2 and R2, I've got increased tension in the right thumbstick, and I've also got the additional buttons in the base of the controller, next to the what would be my middle fingers. So in terms of all those things, the triggers were the big thing for me. That was one of the big draws to the Battle Beaver, something that they specifically do. And yeah, that's been a great asset to me in my gaming. I mostly use the controller for first-person shooters, particularly Rainbow Six Siege, and it just makes you that little bit quicker on the trigger. It just cuts down your pull time by, probably just a margin of a second, but it can make all the difference in those sort of face-to-face gunfights. So that's been a really good addition. In terms of the increased tension in the thumbstick, it's certainly, I'm not going to sit here and try and claim that I've got amazing aim. You'll see that from some of the background clips, that my aim is still not perfect, but I definitely feel that it's helped, it's tightened it up a little bit. And in terms of the additional buttons in the bottom, they were the hardest thing for me to get used to, I would say, just because it's something completely new. It's not just a slight modification to something I've already used, so it took a little bit of training to get used to them, but I can certainly say I get the benefit of them now. I've also got the remap chip, which I've not really tested out yet, to be honest. I've had no need to change the buttons, but it just gives you that flexibility for being able to adjust your settings. So would I say that it's making me better? I'd certainly say that I'm feeling myself that I'm performing a bit better. It gives you a bit of an edge, as I say, in some of those gun battles, etc. I'm not suddenly a world-class gamer compared to before, but I do feel that it's brought me up a level. In terms of the modifications themselves, as I've mentioned, I do feel that they're helping me, and I think the big sign really is when I try and go back to my old controller. Noticing the full trigger pull just feels very strange, not having the additional buttons, and my aim is just all over the place with if I have to use my original controller for any reason, just with losing the increased tension in the thumbstick. So I think that's the biggest time that you notice how much better the Battle Beaver is. So on that, do I recommend it? Yes is the short answer. It's a very good controller, and it's very much worth your money if you can justify it, if you can afford it, and that's really the only other side to it. And I don't want to spin it as a negative, because it's certainly not that, but what you really have to ask yourself if you're considering buying a controller is, will you get the use out of it? For me, yes. I would still class myself as a casual gamer, but I like to try and get on quite regularly, sort of gaming several times a week, etc. And I certainly feel like it's getting good usage. The next question after that, as with all purchases, can you afford it? I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, but the Battle Beaver has cost me close to £200 to get it, and that's been a combination of the controller itself, which obviously the prices can go up and down quite drastically depending on the modifications you have made. On top of that, I've had the postage, which has been a reasonable amount due to the fact that I've had it sent to the UK from America. And then sort of lastly, sort of to add to all of that, I had the import tax that I had to pay with being in the UK, and that was quite a big hit as well, just right at the end of everything, that sort of pushed the price up a bit. So it's something you do have to consider, is whether or not you can afford it. What I would definitely say is, if the answer to the questions is yes, then it's definitely worth getting. If you're looking for me to compare it to other controllers, I'm afraid I can't. I've not used other branded Pro controllers or custom controllers. The only experience I have is with the official PlayStation controller, which is a controller that I've loved the whole time I've used it, which is why I always stick with the official Sony stuff. I would definitely say it is better than that for what I'm using it for. So really, that's about it. To sum it all up, it's a very good controller. I'm very pleased with it. I'm really hoping it's going to last. I can't speak about its durability. I don't think I've used it for anywhere near long enough to really discuss that. It's certainly not showing any signs of wear or tear at the moment, but we'll see how that goes down the line. But I do feel very confident that it'll stand up. The only other question beyond that is, with PlayStation 5 reportedly coming next year, will it be compatible with that? I'd like to think so. I'm assuming the PS5 will be USB compatible, which should make the controller transferable. But if it comes down to it, yeah, I suppose the biggest thing I could say is if I need a Battle Beaver specifically for my PlayStation 5, there's a very good chance that I would be buying one. If anybody's got any questions about the controller or my setup or anything like that, please feel free to leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully have some more content coming your way soon.
My work is done. Time to pack it up.